I'm asked frequently why so many pools in Central Texas are failing currently. It's because of alkali silica reaction and the failure of the pool builders to require the component materials for their pools to meet certain standards. There are certain standards. They were not met. As a result, the concrete used for these pools failed, and the homeowners are left begging their contractors to come out and help a problem that cannot be repaired, cannot be fixed. And so we have stepped into that void to help the homeowners get compensated for pools that they invested in that no longer hold water. One of the things that a homeowner with a pool that they suspect may have a problem should do is look at the type of cracking and the location of the cracking in their pool. Ideally, if you can drain your pool or drain part of your pool, you'll see those cracks far better than if you're just simply looking through the water. Focus on the areas of your pool that have the highest, generally the shallowest, but the warmest water. So a bench or a step or even your hot tub. Those areas will typically see problems if it has ASR sooner, not always, but generally sooner than others. The type of cracking, and so that's the location of cracks. That's typically where we see the type of crack. People will tell me I've got a long crack that's going the whole length of my bench in my pool. Could be ASR, but it could also be just movement of your pool. The type of cracking that we see ASR typically associated with is the cracks have fingers and they start to, we call it alligator, crocodile, or map cracking, but it branches off that one big crack, and then all of a sudden it looks like a mosaic of cracks, really. And it can be either inside your pool, it can also be on the exterior of your pool too. I've had many clients with terrible cracking on the outside of the pool. Many people complain of what looks like some sort of bicarbonate white material that fills in the cracks. That's also generally something that we see associated with ASR cases. And of course, water loss. And you can do tests on your own to see if you're losing water more than what's standard for evaporation rates in this area in the summer. But if your water bill starts to spike, or if you're seeing precipitous drops in the water level of your home, or in your pool, excuse me, you don't want water in your home. In your pool, keep it there. But if you see water loss dramatically, that's another indication that you have it. And so those are the things that we typically will just look at originally in photographs and site visits at the house to understand more about the pool and whether or not it may have ASR. Pool cracking can be caused by many different factors, not the least of which is alkali silica reaction, or ASR. That has cracked many hundreds, if not thousands, of pools over the last several years, but that's not the only thing that cracks pools. Pools can be cracked as a result of poor installation of the gunite or shotcrete. That's the actual material that you'll see those guys in your pool shooting with a hose. Sometimes that material doesn't adhere correctly and rebounds off the wall, only to have the subcontractor get it up and literally push it back in. Sometimes it's too thick. Sometimes it's too thin. Other reasons for pool cracking is the placement or the lack of adequate structural steel. So the rebar in your pool. If you see when your pool is built, you may see all that spaghetti of rebar. Well, it's supposed to be spaced at a certain distance from one another. It may be two separate sets of rebar spaced with spacers. Frequently, the spacers aren't put in, and they're just literally laying on top of each other. Other times, the rebar isn't put in steps or certain areas. And then last, the pool can be on expansive clay soils. If the pool designer or the builder didn't account for the slope of your yard or the soil conditions in your yard, then even a perfectly designed and built pool may crack because the pool itself wasn't properly stabilized in the beginning. Many homeowners that I talk to say that almost uniformly that their pool builder came out and said that these cracks are normal, that they're just temperature or hairline cracks that should be expected. There is some truth to that, but not to the extent of the cracking that I've seen. Concrete in a vacuum can crack when the nature of thermodynamics and heat and expansion and the drying of the concrete takes place, but not at the level where you're losing water in your pool. And so what I hear frequently, almost in every case, is that the homeowner reports the problem to the pool builder. The pool builder comes out and treats it knowing, by the way, that ASR has been a problem since 1953. It's been around. This is not a new problem. Knowing that ASR has been around, knowing that there's an epidemic of these types of cases, will come out with a straight face and say, oh, that's nothing you should be worried about. We can patch it. And so almost every single case that I handle involves the pool builder trying to fix it and then failing, and then the homeowner saying, well, if it doesn't work, then what is it? And then they meekly say, well, I think it's probably ASR. And the homeowner's like, why didn't you tell me that from the beginning? We could have just simply avoided all the time, energy, and trouble of repairing my pool and just simply addressed it in a different manner. Most of the pool cases with alkali silica reaction, or ASR, were built between 2016, 17, perhaps 18, and 2023. That's kind of the time frame for it, and simply because during that time frame, most of those pools were not built with a mixture that included an agent to negate the reactive materials that were used in the concrete. And so you've got cement, you've got sand, you've got rock, and you've got water, and sometimes you have to put something else in that. And so during that time frame, we saw many of the concrete mix companies deliver mixes to pool builders without those additives. And that's what I think has caused a lot of the problems. ASR is not a alkali silica reaction. ASR is not just a homeowner pool problem. I was interviewed by D Magazine, and the journalist asked me at the end, well, isn't this just simply a rich person's problem? And I said, no, it isn't. It's anyone with a pool. And by the way, many of my clients, the pool is one of the biggest investments that they make in their house besides the house itself. And they owe money for it. But it's not just a residential problem. It goes beyond that. It goes to community pools. It goes to city pools. It goes to apartment complex pools. It goes to any pool that was made with a mix of concrete or shotcrete that didn't have the appropriate additives that allowed this alkali silica reaction to take place. So it's much more widespread than just homeowners' backyard pools. Sure. The exterior of your home is the first line of defense to keep the weather out and other things of your home. And so in Texas, you see many homes with different types of exterior cladding. We call that. It could be brick. It could be a cement board called hardy board. It could be wood. But many homes in this area, because of the Spanish influences in architecture, have stucco. And stucco, typically, at least conventional stucco, involves a cement mixture that is applied over a metal lathe with, looks like chicken wire to some degree. That is then, the metal lathe is attached to the exterior Tyvek or green board, the waterproofing board on the exterior of your wall. The mixture that goes over it is put up on top of that, and if done well, can provide a very beautiful, safe exterior barrier for your house. However, there are many things that can go wrong in the application of stucco that we have seen over the years. One of which is it's put on too thin. The stucco generally has to be almost an inch thick, conventional stucco. And so we see where it's only half an inch thick, or it's even thinner. And that allows, when your house moves slightly, it's going to naturally stress those thinner sections of the exterior cladding more than it will a thicker section. The product itself may not be flashed, or when we say flash, put next or up to a window, for instance, or some sort of dissimilar material. There's got to be some space, and there's got to be caulk, and there's got to be a way to keep, again, the movement of the house from damaging those other components of your home. So there are many things with a stucco application that, if it's put on incorrectly, can lead to cracking and failure. And once that stucco exterior starts to crack excessively, it allows moisture to penetrate, and moisture can create wood rot and damage to your home.